Hi, I'm Peter Chung from DHS TV, and I'm here with Kevin Carroll, a board-certified prosthetist. So, what led you into prosthetics?
I grew up in Ireland, and close to where I lived there was a hospital that had physically and intellectually challenged children. And my mom was a big supporter and fundraiser at that hospital and got us involved at a very young age. And basically we saw these physically challenged children, and I decided that's what I wanted to do, come up with prosthetic systems for these kids and orthotic systems for them.
And did you go to school in Ireland or here in the States?
Yeah, I was trained in Ireland as a prosthetist, and then later came to the United States and took my boards here in the US many years ago. Been a lot of fun.
That's amazing. And how did you come to the Hanger Clinic?
I'm with Hanger Clinic about exactly 25 years. I came over here to the US about 30 years ago, and got to know about Hanger and started working with Hanger. Hanger's been around for over 150 years.
Wow.
A lot of history there.
That's impressive. So tell us a little about Winter. She was a dolphin who got entangled in a crab trap.
Yeah, I was coming home from work one evening, and I heard this report on the radio about this little dolphin, a 3-month-old dolphin that had just lost her tail. I was thinking to myself, we put prosthetics on people, why not a tail on a dolphin? Mm-hmm. And picked up the phone, called the aquarium and said, we can do this, we can get your dolphin swimming naturally again, and the rest is history.
Wow, and what was the problem with how she was swimming before? What parts was she missing out of her tail?
Her entire tail fluke was gone, and as a result she started swimming with a very contorted type of motions with her body, and very quickly that started twisting her spine, causing potential spinal damage. And our thought was, if we do not take care of her sooner rather than later, she could get very sick and maybe not even live very long because of that. So that was part of our logic in building a prosthetic tail. And even today, when she has the prosthetic tail on, it's more of a therapeutic device that allows her to swim naturally with a natural up and down pattern the way a dolphin would swim. And I have to say she's doing incredibly well with it.
So she doesn't wear it all the time?
She only wears it when the trainers are with her. Like, she's a huge animal, you can imagine, and she needs supervision when the prosthetic device is on. So in the morning they'll put it on, they'll go through all their exercise routine. In the afternoon they'll put it on again, same situation. But as a result, her spine is in great condition today.
Wow. So how long did it take you before you got the first prototype? Well,
it's all about teamwork, and I contacted one of my good friends and associates in Florida, Dan Strimka. And while a lot of other people were laughing at the whole concept, Dan was like, yeah, why not? We should do this. So we got together at night times and weekends and came up with all sorts of various designs, probably as many as 50 different designs and concepts. And in the space of a year, we developed a very workable prosthetic tail that she has been doing really good with for the last 6 years.
So how many prototypes did you have to test and try before you actually got a really solid working one?
We were probably up to maybe 35 or so that we had, all sorts of different ideas going. Prior to Dan coming on board with the project, I had made some in my garage, just trying to come up with different things, some crazy ideas. But when Dan and I got together, it really did start to take off.
Wow.
And again, 2 minds is better than one, and then our entire Hanger Clinic team were all giving us ideas, and eventually we came up with very, very dynamic prosthetic tail.
What was it made out of?
Dolphin's skin is very fragile, so you barely scratch a dolphin's skin. It could be 6 weeks before it would actually heal up. So we had to come up with a protective gel that's very, very soft and stretchy. So when we put that gel on, it's very sticky as well and tacky. So we put it on, it locks onto our body. We then put the prosthesis in place. Then over the prosthesis, the prosthetic tail, we put another layer of this gel and just held on with full suction. So a lot of basically advanced plastic type materials, composite materials. The spring itself is actually a leaf spring that is made from carbon composite. and that stores energy. As she pushes down into the tail, that energy is stored and then it's released and gives her an opportunity to propel herself forward. And to see her swim with this is just very, very exciting. It's just awesome to see her dynamics in the water. Her whole charm comes out. It's just beautiful to see this incredible animal swim with this device.
And how did she first respond to the first prosthetic?
She responded very well. What we did initially, we introduced her to various materials just by touching her with the material. Initially the material was silicone, so we touched her with silicone material, and to see how she would react to the material. And then as we led into this very soft gel material, which today we call winter's gel, she really took to it very, very well and actually enjoyed putting it on. So we would put the gel material on, then over a period of time we'd start to put the greater structure, the tail structure around the gel material. So it was in very small stages. We then went into the development of the tail fluke itself. Right. So the first piece was how it's going to attach, then the tail. And we did not want her to reject any of these. So the initial tail was very small. So she would barely feel the resistance of the tail. And over a period of months, the tail got bigger and bigger until eventually we had a full-size tail behind her. So she was not ever subjected to an environment that she would reject something, because we did not want to scare her. So we were very impressed with how she adapted so quickly. Although you say it took you guys a year, well, this is something that had not been done before. So for us, we had to make sure that our designs and our concepts were acceptable to her. And also, we worked very closely with the veterinary surgeons and professionals that really understands, and especially these are marine veterinarians. Guys are world renowned for what to do. Right. So to work with those guys and to be encouraged by that team. And we would always see that they're encouraging us, but every now and again we would read their body language, and their body language was telling us, well, this is not going to work. Or they'd be like, oh, you're doing a great job. So it was teamwork, and we talk about body language. We talk about people communicating with one another. We fold their arms. What does that mean when somebody's folding their arms? They're kind of closing down. So team dynamics was very important, but also the body language of the dolphin. And I'm not a marine psychologist or not a dolphin psychologist, but being around with a lot of people and people with physical challenges, I've learned how to pick up on just little tiny body movements and what that body movement is telling me, or what body movement what message has been sent by that. And the dolphin was the same way. So it was interesting to work with the dolphin, watch her body language, and even coming in, Dan Strimke and I would come in carrying something, and she would pick up, oh, they're here to work with me today, and she's gone off to a corner. And then the next day we were coming in just with her hands flowing, and she's coming right out to see us.
Right.
And remember, she was a child, basically a kid coming to us as clinicians. So the same kind of mannerisms that we'd see with children, she was portraying them, and the same playfulness. So it's just an incredible, there has been an incredible 8 years of interaction with this incredible animal and getting to do this job.
So as she got older, did you have to increase the size of the prosthetic? How did that work?
As she got older, obviously she's grown very, very rapidly.
Yeah.
So we would have to continue with the change of the tail and the change of the design some as well. And even when she's fully grown, she won't be fully grown until about 11 or 12 years old. But even at that, so let's say she was 15 years old, we'll still have to replace tails at least twice a year, because wintertime comes, she puts on a whole lot of weight to get over the winter. Like in her mind, she's still a wild dolphin and she still has to pack on her winter protection.
Right.
But summer comes, she loses that weight. So we'll always be making changes and adjustments to the sockets over the years. So a lot of changes. And even with materials, with the change of materials, when Dan Strimke and I, we get together, we're always coming up with new ideas and strategizing. So we think next year the prosthetic tail will be different. 10 years from now it'll probably be very different, and so on over the years.
So do you still work with her to this day?
Yeah, we work with her. We're down there very, very regularly, visiting with her, and of course visiting with the team at Clearwater Marine Aquarium. And people can go online and actually see her right now. You go to seawinter.com and she's out there swimming along, and if we're working with her you can actually see her. But yeah, we're there a lot. She has inspired a huge amount of people, especially children, but even adults has been very much touched by her. And this Winter's gel, we now call her gel material, we call it Winter's gel.
Right.
And Winter's gel is a very protective material that is now on humans. There's literally thousands of humans around the world walking on prosthetics with Winter's gel. I visited with a little girl last week, that earlier on in Winter's project, when we developed the gel, this little girl and her family called saying, I can't walk, I lost both my legs, my skin is so bad I cannot walk. And we put Winter's gel on her, and as a result she continues to walk. And last week I saw her, she's doing awesome with her prosthetics. So Winter has given so much back.
Wow. What other animals have you worked with?
We've worked with turtles, sea turtles. We put little prosthetics on the sea turtles. They've done well with them. We've fit donkeys, we fit llamas, we fit obviously dogs, loads of dogs. What else? You name it, they bring all sorts of critters. Like we have a little bird that we work with. Actually we have several birds, but we have some small, some big. Like there's a crow out in Southern California that I see when I go out there. And then there's sandhill cranes, which are the real tall, big birds. We put prosthetic legs on them. And I do it for fun, it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it.
So how has Winter inspired the people that you work with?
Winter has been a great inspiration to many of our patients, especially people who have given up and they're like, I just can't do this. And next of all, to see a dolphin having a prosthetic tail and how she puts that prosthetic device on every day and swims with it. And they're like, well, if she can do it, I can do it. And to see those, oftentimes we have interactions where we bring people down to visit with Winter, people with various challenges, whether they're visually impaired, hearing impaired, or persons with limb loss, or who knows, whatever impairment that individual might have. But to see these interactions with her and how she motivates and encourages, it's just incredible to see that dynamic take place.
Wow, that's amazing. And do you have any last words to say?
Last words to say is, we've been very fortunate that we continue a tradition of 150 years of clinical care that was came about after our founder and chief lost his leg in the Civil War. He was blown up, a blast injury. So James Edward Hanger. And we continue today, with his philosophy of taking care of our patients. And war continues to go on, and we continue his tradition of providing the best prosthetics that can be found anywhere in the world, the most appropriate care to people who need prosthetics. So we're very honored to continue that tradition.
Well, thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.
And I'm Peter Chung from BHS TV.